grade point average. I'm slipping in biology.
My name's Sylvie Cooper.
Like most 15-year-olds, what Sylvie Cooper wanted more than anything else was a best friend.
Everybody hates me.
Oh, well, everybody hates me, too. Do you want to come over?
Someone to talk to.
Wow, this is great.
Someone to understand her.
Oh, Ivy, this is my mom, Georgie.
Till death.
Someone like Ivy.
It's nice and cool in here. I missed my ride.
No.
Dad, she's my best friend.
But Ivy didn't just want a friend. Ivy wanted more.
I hope that when I die, I'll have owned a sports car, had a family, a home.
And she'd do anything to get it.
Hello, Mr. Cooper. Care for anything?
What the hell are you doing in my mom's car?
Won't ever happen again.
Please, stop! Say it! I want to hear you say it! Are you accusing me of something? Why did you do something?
No, Fred, come here. No, Fred, come here. We can all be together now. We can all be a family.
Wow. Woohoo! That was a lot. That was a lot. Welcome back,
Welcome
listeners.
back to the show. Great show today. I can't wait.
I know, me too. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay.
Yay! Wow. This one takes me back, really.
Same here. So there's an interesting story of why we picked this movie.
Tell me.
So we watched Poison Ivy with friend of the pod, returning guest, third time on the show, Michael Morgan. Welcome back.
Wow. Welcome back, Mike.
Happy to be here.
And we watched the erotic thriller Poison Ivy from 1992, directed by Kat Shea.
Yes.
I feel like we've just are really on a 90s erotic thriller kick.
Yes, indeed.
So,
I love me an erotic thriller.
Same.
From the 90s.
We're just at that point of the quarantine where we're just like digging up all of these long but not forgotten classic thrillers.
I mean, movies were just hornier in the 90s. Do you agree?
Yeah, and for me, what I love, it's the blank from hell genre where it's just always, the best friend from hell,
Yes.
the nanny from hell,
Last week was
the boss from
last
hell.
week was the roommate, from,
roommate
hell,
from hell,
and now
yeah.
we're the best friend from hell.
Yes. That was
It's a
definitely a lot of
deeply
that.
rewarding genre.
Oh, for sure.
So we own this on DVD. I have the 3-pack of Poison Ivy 2, and Poison Ivy The New Seduction.
Yes.
And I think it was about a year and a half ago, I wanted to show this movie to a friend of mine because he posted an image online of Drew and Sara, and he didn't know what it was from. And I was like, oh, man, girl, we have to watch Poison Ivy. So I took the DVD over to his apartment, opened it up, and it was gone.
The DVD was not
The
inside the
DVD
box.
was not inside the box.
What?
And I was fucking pissed. And this is one of those movies that when you look it up to rent online,
It's impossible.
it's impossible to find.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's just a weird thing with New Line, I think. I don't know. Like, I don't know how digital rights work. I know that when our guest Millie was on the show, and we were talking about the same thing with Mannequin, that some movies just have weird digital rights issues.
Sure.
And I think this is a movie
and
that
this
lives
is
in
a
a gray
bit
zone.
controversial.
Yes.
She is in high school.
Yes, indeed. And both actresses under 18, not that
Yeah.
there's that much going on, but, there's the seduction of the older man.
It's very provocative subject.
Yeah, I would say provocative. But so it doesn't really cross a line.
Right.
No.
But I will say, just having vivid memories of this movie at the time. What year did we decide this was?
92.
92.
At least May of 92.
Just the fact that there's a very brief, very fleeting, peck on the lips between Drew and Darlene Connor, and that I remember being pretty controversial, being pretty like
I do
noted.
too.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess there is a little bit of some action between these two youthful characters.
So a few days ago,
Yes.
I was thinking about the David Bowie movie Labyrinth when I was picking up some breakfast burritos, and I got home and I'm like, we're gonna watch our old Blu-ray of Labyrinth to see how it looks on our new 4K TV. So I get our Labyrinth disc, and lo and behold, what disc is in Labyrinth? It is Poison Ivy. And I lost my goddamn mind. It was like finding a $10 bill in your pant pocket.
Yeah.
I was so happy. So then I was like, Pete, we're recording Poison Ivy this week.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. So now we have the complete collection of Poison Ivy.
Yes, because the disc that was missing is it's actually a double disc on the same DVD. It's Poison Ivy and Poison Ivy 2: Lily, starring Alyssa Milano. No one from the original movie at all. We'll get into the sequels in a bit after we talk a little bit.
I have a story about the sequels too, so I'll be excited to share. Because I remember this coming out too as a kid.
Yeah,
and then I remember the sequels happening too.
Yeah,
so.
And, Alyssa and Drew's careers kind of following this weird path in the 90s, kind of crisscrossing and overlapping a couple of times, and this is one of them. So, Scott, you said you had some information about some behind-the-scenes, well, not behind-the-scenes stuff, but just some info about the movie.
I think that it's important to note, and we talked a little bit off mic about this, but we'll get into it now. This movie is directed by Kat Shea, a woman, and she's kind of a prodigy of Roger Corman.
Oh,
okay.
She's
produced some sleeper hit B movies. Yeah. One of them is Strip to Kill 2, Streets.
I've seen Strip to Kill.
Oh, wow.
Is it worth checking out?
It's great. Oh, my God.
Streets with Christina Applegate and Dance of the Damned.
Interesting.
So she was just those were her calling card movies around LA at the time. And New Line was wanting to do a teenage version of Fatal Attraction. Like, that was kind of the elevator pitch of this movie.
Oh.
And the screenwriter, Melissa Godard, kind of based the story. She has a story credit. She based the story of something that allegedly happened to her with one of her friends when she was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of based on a true story, but then Kat Shea and her husband ended up doing the script for Poison Ivy, and this is what came out of it. And yeah, so this movie premiered at Sundance in '92, released, and it didn't do very well.
No.
In its initial release, it didn't even gross back its whole budget. But then, kind of later in the '90s, it would just be on steady rotation on cable, and that's where it got its cult following. And then they ended up doing the sequel in '96 and then '97.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so
I would argue it feels like it was directed by a woman, kind of.
Absolutely.
In the sense that I think that the movie goes out of its way to kind of be a little bit more on Ivy's side.
Yeah.
Or not really present her as Freddy Krueger, the way that a lot of these Blank from Hell movies tend to devolve their main characters.
Right. She never has, aside from... she straight up is the villain, and she does villainous things.
Yes, she's a psychopath.
Yeah, she does one villainous thing, really. But the rest of the time, when they do kind of illustrate her being kind of psycho, it never gets too crazy. She doesn't kill a bunch of people on her way to, kill Sylvie's mom or whatever. She treats the dog well. She treats the maid well. She's not overtly
even the
evil.
way she seduces the dad, it's very much on him mostly.
Yeah.
The thing that she does do is sort of bring back the alcoholism.
But
I did want to say it's a show called Movies That Made Me Gay. But I'll tell you one thing that did not make me gay is Tom Skerritt's butt.
That ass of Tom Skerritt.
That was not. gay moment.
He's definitely up there in this movie age wise. I don't know. I feel like he's one of those actors that I'm like, he's good looking. I don't know that I would like actively pursue, Tom Skerritt, but I'm not that mad at him. But yeah,
he's right. A DILF to an extent.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
But it is a little, I don't know. He's almost too old.
Yeah.
When you see the ass, and I feel like you see his face. It is really his buns that you're seeing in this movie.
Yeah. And I was trying to think back to the this premise. I mean, the fact that you just said studio execs pitched it as like a high school fatal attraction, like now that would not fly.
Oh yeah.
Like they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll have this. But I think back in 92 it was so much more, it was a little bit titillating, but it was not at all like controversial to have like a high school girl seduce a dad.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I feel like that premise, they're just like, oh, it'll be like our modern like Lolita, like what you were saying.
Well, there's a lot of callbacks to Lolita in this movie too.
Yeah.
Or yes, they also sort of, thinking of Alyssa Milano. Remember these shows like Married with Children and Who's the Boss, when like the girls would come out and like the audience would pause to be like, ooh, like if she wore a hot outfit, and you'd like oogle them, and like there'd be like a pause to be like, look, it's a hot jailbait moment.
Yeah, for sure. And
this movie doesn't really do that.
Other than the Ivy character really kind of dressing like Kelly Bundy, like she dresses she's dressing like a 90s metal or like hair metal video girl,
girl that's like, hot off Melrose Avenue.
Yeah. Yeah. She's wearing these like mini skirts, leather, like the motorcycle jacket, the like cowboy boots and a mini skirt and like a white, button down shirt like tied above her belly button,
various mini skirts in this movie too.
Yeah.
And her cowboy boots are constantly falling off her feet. They're always like she's kicking them off, they're falling off.
Yeah. And there's like a hole in one of them.
We were trying to figure out if Drew has naturally curly hair or if it's a perm. I think it's a perm.
Okay.
What the movie starts with.
I can't tell. Either way, it's lovely. I think Drew is well used in this movie.
She's good in it.
Yeah, she's great.
And I can't say that for every Drew Barrymore performance.
Yes,
let me tell you.
Well, and this was at like this was a very interesting part of Drew Barrymore's career that she was a burnout
she was kind of down
at the
and out,
age of like 15 in Hollywood. She was already discarded.
I think this was a time in her career where she was just taking what she could get as far as roles. We watched a clip of her on Arsenio, on the Arsenio Hall show, and he mentioned, or he asked her if it's a situation where she's unable to get roles because studios wouldn't want to work with her because uninsurable, all that stuff. Your basic Lindsay package.
Yeah.
She dug herself out of that hole, though.
She did.
Yeah. Right around this time, she had done the Amy Fisher movie.
I think the Amy Fisher movie came out
Long
93.
Island Lolita.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Yes. I want to see the name of that one because
it's want to consider one of the all-time great TV movies.
Well, I mean, this whole Amy Fisher story, I could do a whole podcast on that. I was fascinated. I watched all 3 of the made-for-television movies about Amy Fisher. And
2 came out at the same time, which is so rare. You know how Hollywood will often release 2 movies at the same time about the same thing?
Yes.
This was a case where there were 2 TV movies competing basically at the same time. I think both did well because people could not get enough.
Let me tell you this. There were 3, and 2 of them aired the same night. The Drew Barrymore...
So you had to make a decision of what camp you were in.
The Drew Barrymore and the Alyssa Milano rival Amy Fisher movies aired the same night on 2 different networks. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was a scandal.
Wow.
And I am here to tell you that I was changing channels back and forth. Because I could not decide. Yeah, I loved it. there's a whole I won't go too deep into that. I mean, I could practically do a whole other podcast on that, but I will just say this brief little tidbit: the Alyssa Milano movie was based on interviews with Joey Buttafuoco's family, so she was a lot more like slutty and scandalous, and like, they made Joey look a little bit more dopey in that one. No, they made him look more sexy in that one. And then the Drew one was done by like a Fox News like journalist. And so that one was the most like neutral. So they kind of gave everybody equal footing.
What was the angle of the third one?
The angle of the third one was based on Amy Fisher's story. So that actress was an unknown. She was a little bit more plain looking, not as beautiful as Drew or Alyssa. And they made the Joey in that one like a major hunk. So you were like, oh, I get it. That's why she fell. That's why she fell for him. You know what I mean? So they all had different angles on it. It's very like Rashomon. Like if you watch all three of them, everybody has their own little take. And like, well, in my version, he's sexy. Well, in my version, he's stupid. So yeah, but they aired the same night. Crazy.
Where's that 3-pack Blu-ray?
I know.
I'm waiting for the inevitable Hulu like limited series of Amy Fisher.
Oh, I would
yeah,
love that.
they
I would love that.
They need to
They
get on that
mined
shit.
like a bunch of the '90s tabloid stories. That one is very right to be rediscovered.
For sure. We'll have a poll on who could play Amy in that in that new version. But we're here to talk about Poison Ivy.
Even just how this movie is introduced with the score. The score that is throughout this movie, I'm obsessed with.
Just
I
this
want
like slow
the album to it.
Yeah.
I want to like
Want it on
put.
vinyl?
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
put like Ivy's Lament. Like when
I
I'm driving to
want Lana
work.
Del Rey to do a concept album based on the film Poison Ivy.
oh my god.
Doesn't it feel very Lana Del Rey-ish, this whole movie?
That is $1 million idea right there.
I mean, that's just a Lana Del Rey album cover of Lana like on this tire swing, swinging through the
man.
air.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the swing,
Yeah.
and the cowboy boot.
The swing and the cowboy this rope swing over this like ravine.
It was huge. And then do you remember when Sara Gilbert's having a moment and these Cirque du Soleil performers suddenly like jump on it like and start doing like coordinated stunts?
Yeah,
It's
they
the
start
same-
doing like ribbon dancing.
It's the same couple.
Like-
It's the same couple from the beginning too. So they used the same background extras because they were really good at the tire swing.
Yeah, this one girl is constantly jumping on that, like running and jumping on a tire swing, going over this ravine. I do think that it was creative angles to make this ravine look a lot deeper and scarier than it actually was, though. I think if you really look at it, it's probably just barely like.
Well, you're
10 feet off the
expecting
ground.
someone to get like, killed.
Oh, yeah,
or to,
you-
like
They're setting it up for like Ivy to push Sara Gilbert like off this ravine or something, or,
Yeah.
like, cut the rope or something like that. But that is a thread that's completely like abandoned. But yeah, the score of this movie has this like slow piano. There's also that like really slow trumpets come in at certain points.
Got to add those strings too.
Yeah, but then we also get the Sara Gilbert character has a piano piece that she wrote specifically for her sickly mother, and that comes into play like later on in the movie. The sickly mother we haven't even talked about yet.
no,
by-
and it starts with a voiceover. I love a voiceover, and it's basically like her diary entries.
Yeah. Yeah, the voiceover about Ivy, it's always just so mysterious. You know, and it's just Sara Gilbert's at the ravine, and we see all these kids, and then it's just like Ivy, the slow motion of her on this tire swing, just living her life, just like head hanging back, you know, legs in the air. She's going to break something.
Oh
She
yeah.
keeps up.
Oh yeah, and they even in the first 90 seconds sort of like casually are like, yeah, I'm kind of a lesbian, but the movie really doesn't make much hay with that.
Yeah.
It's sort of a modern attitude. It's sort of like, yeah,
Yeah, she's like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Oh, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But for 92, I think that was definitely not-
risque.
Yeah, risque.
I mean,
yeah.
she's sort of the troubled rich kid. I mean,
Yes.
as much as Poison Ivy's the villain, she doesn't have to do much to blow this family up.
Oh,
because they're
yeah.
already
This
all
family was well on its
on
way.
the brink
Yes.
of doom.
Yeah,
Like,
they're on the edge for
this
sure.
is not a happy family.
Yes.
So, upon reflection, did we all know that Sara Gilbert was this lesbian icon when we were little kids?
Oh my god.
Well,
I mean, watching it now when she's like, I might be gay, it's like,
Yeah.
right?
I do have to say that Darlene Connor is definitely one of my idols of all time.
You have a very Darlene Connor
I've
personality.
definitely
Yeah.
modeled a lot of myself after this character. And so for me at the time, seeing her in a film was cool. And then seeing this film that had these like adult themes, you know, the sexual themes and, you know, all of these like erotic politics and everything. For me, this movie definitely was something that I was like, okay, I'm watching this on cable for sure. Not something that like I'm telling my parents like, hey, let's go see Poison Ivy in the theater.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like this secret thing that I was like, all right, I'm into this.
I remember it on pay-per-view. Like, it was a big
wow,
pay-per-view
yeah, for
type
sure.
movie.
So I want to say this movie just ended up getting rented on, you know, like back in the days with the video store, you could get like 7 movies for $7 or something. And I remember Poison Ivy just being among those and just watching it and just being fascinated with it. And
I was in probably like 3rd or 4th grade, and everyone wanted to see it.
I was probably
That's
about
amazing.
I was probably about 13 when I first saw it.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking I was roughly around the same age, probably a little younger than the Sara Gilbert character.
Right.
And I also remember this movie was always on Lifetime Channel for women.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
So
love
I
that.
would always just get little bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it's a basic cable you know, showing of it. So you're not gonna get any of the like really sexy stuff.
I think that they just blurred out the ass.
Probably.
But I remember seeing the car scene.
Yeah. The car
Yeah.
scene, iconic. The bruise on her chest.
Oh no, I'm talking about like the lovemaking in the rain car scene.
in the rain. I forgot about
It did,
that.
okay, this
Thought you meant the car
movie,
chase.
I think I mentioned this. Like, it rains and storms so goddamn much.
Yeah.
And it's set in LA.
Yeah.
And you're just like, really?
It's set in like David Fincher's
Really?
LA.
Yeah. Is it like 1 week in Los Angeles? Because yeah, that is a lot.
I mean, that does
It's
sometimes happen in
stormy.
LA where it's rainy for like a month straight. So
I guess. It needed to be set in like March. I
well,
guess.
it was 92. I think there was like
An El Nino year? Was it an El Nino
I
year?
think it was.
that sounds about right. So we were thinking about the geography of this movie. The house that they filmed is just off of Los Feliz Boulevard, and I take it that's probably where it's set in the movie. I don't know
Like
where
Griffith
this like,
Park area.
I don't know where this like rope swing is. Maybe in the geography of the movie it is Griffith Park.
Who knows?
Yeah, I think so.
The school is in Sierra Madre.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
well,
it's-
and they
it's
do
over
go to
now.
they go to Melrose.
Yes.
That tattoo scene's one of my favorite sequences
Yeah.
too. That is wild when we get there.
Oh, my God.
But I guess I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, that tattoo artist is like, he's my new favorite actor. I want him to star in every movie.
I
Oh my
mean,
God.
Pete and I have a lot of tattoos. We've spent our fair share of time in tattoo parlors, and never have we had the tattoo guy spit his beer on
No,
our
yeah, he
tattoo.
like spit like Malibu rum, Captain
Yeah.
Morgan's, on like a raw tattoo, and she took it in stride. She was
That's
like,
pretty.
whatever.
That's pretty punk rock, Drew.
She was just like, ew, can you believe this guy? Like, that was like the look on her face was just like, what about this one? She wasn't even like pissed off. Oh man. Okay, so we should start off with, yeah, we mentioned that. Okay, I'm not going to call her Darlene the entire movie. Her name is Sylvie Cooper, and like any television or movie character with the last name Cooper,
You got to call him Coop.
they call her Coop.
Even though I never grew up with
Yeah.
anyone with the last name Cooper.
Yeah, neither
so
have I.
No, me either.
No. And if I did, I would never in 1,000 million years call
Misha
him Coop.
Barton's character was called Coop.
Yes, she
on the
was.
ocean.
By summer. So they meet in detention, I guess.
Yes.
I'm assuming it's detention because she's like, what are you in for?
Did you spot the early Leonardo DiCaprio run across the screen?
No.
You literally have to freeze frame it to see that
if you blink, you can miss his appearance in this movie.
Yeah, he like runs across it.
And it's funny because you can tell that when this movie came out, Leo was starting the track, so they put him in the credits.
Yeah.
Like he's a prominent extra.
Yeah, because there's extras, like if you look at the credits, which we did, we scanned them, and there's like, people are credited as boy, and then underneath, another boy, and then guy. And Leonardo DiCaprio is Guy.
All right.
So I don't know if that's like Guy, like that's his name, or they didn't want to put a third boy and they just credited him as Guy. But Leo actually did a couple of episodes of Roseanne. And he would always be in Darlene's like classroom scenes. So I'm wondering if they were just friendly.
Do you think she just brought him to set that day?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Or if maybe she was just like in an early version of the Pussy Posse.
I could also see Drew probably just hanging with young Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah. Drew. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All those child actors.
Yeah. Just running in a big group of sin.
These like boxcar children of child actors.
Well, we know Drew was emancipated.
Yep.
She was just doing whatever the hell she wanted. Okay, but Sylvie's like, what are you in for? And Drew's just like, well, I have to keep a certain grade point average, and I'm slipping, which is fine. You know, that's totally a true thing. If you have to keep your grades up a certain level, you have to talk to counselors about that. But then when she asks Sylvie what she's in for, she says she called in a bomb threat to a news station.
To her dad?
To her dad?
I mean,
why would that get her detention at school, though?
Yeah. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
I guess if she used like a school payphone, but no.
True. Yeah, she did it while she was at school. Like at my school, we would get in trouble for stuff we did off campus. But I went to a private school, a Catholic school, so they're very much like, you're representing us, blah blah blah. But well, I guess this might be supposed to be a private school.
Yeah,
because of the whole scholarship thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like Drew's delivery when she mentions Jerry's kids.
Yes, I know. I'm sure nobody would understand that reference.
No, but I do actually have this.
It's a stick one. See?
I like the ivy.
Well, the cross makes me think of death, but the ivy is life. Sort of the tragic and the hopeful, you know? What did you do to your hair?
Oh, it's Egyptian.
Cool.
Principal's office. Sure, what are you busted for?
I gotta keep a certain grade point average. I'm slipping in biology.
Oh, you're one of those scholarship kids.
You make it sound like Jerry's kids. It's not a disease.
Oh, sorry. Did it hurt?
No, they used a gun. It was really quick. But you've got this wire running through your nose. Feels like you have a booger. Who's the old dude who picks you up in the pimpmobile?
Oh, it's my dad. He's having a midlife crisis. My name's Sylvie Cooper.
So, Cooper, what'd they nail you for?
So, we never get Ivy's real name.
No, I wondered about that.
I love that, too.
And she kind of just assigns her the name Ivy.
She's a blank slate.
Based on the fake tattoo that Ivy has on her thigh. And she just says, your name's Ivy, really quickly. And that's all anybody calls her.
She just rolls with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to which I say, you're going to the same school with this chick. You don't have one class with her. You don't know any other students that know her that are like, that's not her fucking name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be easy to find her actual name. But at that point, they're in too far. She's got to call her Ivy for the long haul.
Right. I like how her dad is kind of like a Fox News. Like
yes.
He's like a Alex Jones or a Tucker Carlson. I mean, if he was inspiring his own child to call in a bomb threat.
Right.
And it hints that he's a real estate developer and he's super rich and he doesn't really need to do these editorials.
Right.
But like all fucking rich assholes, he just has to put his ideas on other people even though he has more than enough money to not work.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, even now in that clip, they kind of hinted at some class tensions, like Ivy's poor.
Yeah.
She's on scholarship.
Yeah, she's got like work study or whatever. Yeah, I kind of took the dad to be like, who's the guy on 60 Minutes that died? It was Mike Wallace. He would always just that's all he ever did was editorials from like that Office set. I kind of, took it as that. Like editorials on the news are
his main editorial that they talked about how teenagers were too hormonal and balanced that they shouldn't have driver's licenses.
And then later on, Drew Barrymore drives and she's shockingly bad.
Yes.
Remember that? It was like the movie goes out of its way to make her like a horrible driver.
Yeah. She is like speeding down this like windy road.
But I think that would be a good remake is if it was like a Fox News like neocon.
Yeah.
Who, like, this like hussy comes in and is trying to get him to like lose his mind.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because this character, the Tom Skerritt character, probably would be a little bit more conservative. Mm-hmm. So yeah, seeing
seemed like that.
Yeah, so seeing somebody like Ivy, like with her like Kelly Bundy wardrobe and stick-on tattoos, is that a thing? I've never in my life.
Did she get that? Did she get that out of like a quarter machine?
Yeah. Did she? Yeah, like outside of a grocery store, like where does one get a decal tattoo? And the interesting thing is when we were pulling clips, audio clips for the podcast, we had to rewatch that scene, and she goes, "It's a sticker." And in the movie, she gestures down to it to peel it back, but you don't actually see her do it. It cuts away and then makes like a peely noise. So it's like clever editing because it's clearly like drawn onto her leg.
Right.
And, but you think that she peels it back, but she actually doesn't. When I rewatched it, I was like, that's some like psycho editing right there. Like you thought that she peeled it, but she actually didn't. Because I don't think it's an actual sticker. I think they just painted it on her leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until she goes to the tattoo place and gets it permanently on her leg, along with some Hep C.
This seems like a character that would just already have a tattoo.
I know.
Yeah.
Surprised that she had to go get it.
Yeah, like underage tattoos are very like a thing, and pre like the current like tattoo craze of just like random people having them. Like in 1992 when it was still shocking to see people with them,
and shocking to see someone with a nose ring too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. They get to comment on it.
Yeah, that's true. Also, if this is a private school that you have to pay to go to,
she'd probably have to take out that.
She'd
nose
have
ring.
to take that.
Oh
nose
yeah,
ring out for sure.
So Ivy just latches on. She sees that rich car.
Oh,
She's like, ooh, you have air conditioning, and she gets the girls out and puts them in the car window.
Oh,
great scene.
She pulled that crazy alpha move. She was like, oh, I get car sick. Can I sit in the front?
Yeah.
And makes her new impromptu best friend sit in the back seat.
I love that. And it's just the way that she sticks her head into this car window, just like, oh, hey, you've got AC in here. Like,
Ivy knows
honestly,
no personal
I'd be
boundaries.
The same way after these past few days.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's true. And then I love that the sprinklers on the lawn just happen to turn on and just like, I've got to get in the car. And she's just soaking wet sitting next to, Tom Skerritt, just being super sexy and inappropriate.
And she sticks her tongue out at him at one point in the movie. Or in that scene too.
Yeah.
Well,
Gross.
right out of the gate, they're talking about condoms and dental dams and spermicide jellies, and all kinds of early '90s
Nanoxynol 9. I remember Nanoxynol 9. You had to get condoms with Nanoxynol 9 because
what is that? I don't even know.
It's a spermicide.
Okay.
So not only are you wearing a condom, but you're wearing a type of condom that kills those spermies.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it's it does extra job. And only I'm sure they still sell condoms that are coated with it. But yeah, at the time it was and remember in sex ed classes they were and also on MTV what was MTV? Not Real Sex was HBO. Sex in the 90s was on MTV.
Yes.
And Sex in the 90s was always spouting off you had to get the condoms with the Nanoxynol 9.
Who hosted Sex in the 90s on MTV.
I don't know that it had a host. I think
It
was,
didn't.
yeah, it was just more of a documentary, like news magazine.
But again, that just speaks to those times because now everyone's infertile and no one's virile. And like the idea that you would need a spermicide, it's like, no, don't worry. No one has like regular sperm count. We're just protecting now from like syphilis, basically.
That is the damn truth. Did you know that Truvada for PrEP can stave off COVID-19?
Does it? I've heard tobacco is like the secret.
That's what I think that they're doing like research on it right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Gilead, the company that makes Truvada, I think they're on the front lines of trying to
Monetize it. Yeah.
Yes, that's the problem because Gilead are friggin' money grubbers. All right, that's the end.
All right, so they show up at the house and it turns real BC Andrews.
Oh,
Really
yes.
because you meet the mom immediately and you're
Oh,
just
man.
like,
Played by Charlie's Angels, Cheryl Ladd.
Yes.
Oh, that is major.
Just in this like gauzy, like satin nightgown with these
All the
like
time.
acrylics.
It's very like fibromyalgia. Like we never really know
Yes.
what she
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
We're never like
And
given
she has a pretty bad prescription pill problem too.
Yeah.
Like
She
she's
does.
addicted to like
But
OxyContin.
keeps her nail game. It's
Yeah.
like so fetishy. Can we talk about her nails?
Yes, this is like some Barbara Streisand level like acrylic.
Let me
game.
just open up the bottle. I can't open up the bottle with these nails.
These acrylics. Yeah, I feel like she's got this unnamed, fibromyalgia. It's like Epstein-Barr. Is that
Something.
one of those mystery diseases?
But it has to do obviously with her breathing. But then fucking everyone smokes still. Like Sara Gilbert still smokes in the house.
Yeah,
She
And her mother is
her mom still
dying.
smokes too.
Like,
but this house is made of. I don't think there's one pane of glass in this entire house. The house is made of windows.
Some beautiful balconies in this house.
Yeah, every window is completely empty and out to the Los Feliz like air. So
and
you could
calling for the mom. They're
Yeah.
just, like taunting her. Like
to jump.
"Jump."
Yeah, so you could probably smoke in that room and just not even affect anybody. But yeah, she. I don't know that anyone has her. Georgie is a character's name. I don't think anybody has Georgie's best interest at heart. Other than maybe Sylvie, but you're right. She does smoke these cigarettes, and Sara Gilbert is smoking. I think there were clove cigarettes.
Yeah, it looked like a cigar.
Yeah.
And it was real lesbian.
Yes, cigarillos are like black and tans. One of those like gross black and milds.
And Nat Sherman, a black and gold.
Yeah, for sure. It's super gross. But when we first meet, Georgie, she also is unapproving
No way.
of Ivy. She's just like, she's got a tattoo, she's got a nose ring,
and she
she's
can
a bad
hear
influence.
and she can hear her daughter lying about like the cuts on her wrists. Those were actually from falling out of a window, and she told her that she tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
She also, and I was really shocked. I thought it was going to be like a Rachel Dolezal moment where she's like, I'm half black. And I was like, oh no, is this movie pretending that Sara Gilbert can play like biracial? Because I really thought it would. In 92, that would have been like, look, she can play biracial.
Yep. Yeah, it was very interesting. But I mean, I definitely knew teenagers like that would just make shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And that was just her character, that she just would make up these things. But the mom called her on it. She said, did you tell her you're black?
She's heard all of this before.
Yeah. I told some doozies in high school just to see how far I could take it.
Can you think of any of them?
Oh, well, like the main doozy that I told was that I had my entire high school class convinced that I was a vegetarian when I clearly was not. And that I was Jewish at a Catholic, at a Catholic school.
Well, you wanted to be like the punk rock Jew at the Catholic school.
I just wanted to see if I could get these idiots to believe anything, and they bought it.
Oh my God.
My typing teacher thought my computer science. Well, it wasn't typing; it was computer science. But that's all we did was Mavis Beacon learns to type. But I think she bought it for a moment, and I was like, "No, I'm."
Did you try to like pepper like some like Yiddish or like be like, well, Passover's coming up.
I gavalt. Yeah.
What would you do to like kind of sell it?
I think I spoke about high holidays every now and then, but without
God.
without access to Wikipedia, it was tough. But it didn't really take much because they didn't know anything either.
I know, but you grew up in LA, right?
Yeah, but I went to a Catholic school.
But still, I mean, there are so many Jewish people here. How could they kind of not be I guess not.
Well,
but
also the thing about private schools in LA is that you get sent there not because you're Catholic. You get sent there because it's a better school than the one in your neighborhood, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. It was a weird time. It wasn't hurting anybody. I didn't do it to skip school. I just thought it was funny.
So
it was funny.
We should talk about my favorite scene of the movie is when Ivy is charming the mom.
Oh, is it? Oh, that monologue she gives.
And that monologue was
major.
probably all the scenes that they showed on Arsenio.
Yeah.
Like whenever
and
she
Dennis
won.
Miller.
And like Dennis Miller. Anything that they needed, a talk show moment. This is a really good scene.
Again, Lana Del Rey should take that monologue and just put music behind it and like sort of baby sing it, and it would be like so good.
She could play Ivy and Georgie because she could be the mom in the bed with she's already got the acrylics.
She probably has that nightgown just in her closet already.
So I love when the mom is having trouble with her oxygen mask and she's just it's stuck, like fix it. And Ivy's just like, oh, it's too low. Like, turn it up. All she does is pump more oxygen.
Yeah.
I feel like those are expertly calibrated, like by nurses, and you're probably not supposed to touch that.
She's getting her high.
Yeah.
I like when she's mentioned that her mom was like a coked up.
Yeah.
Like, whore.
We have that clip.
Oh yeah, we've got the clip. Here we go.
Well, my mom died in her 40s. But she was dead way before that. She only pretended to be alive. She was so coked out all the time, looking out windows. Every shadow was a cop or a dealer she owed.
That's an amazing line.
She was always asking if I heard noises. And she flinched every time I touched her. Even for a hug. Bet she drove it with the top down even in the rain.
Oh, we see a picture of Georgie with a
She's looking at the car.
I hope that when I die, I'll have owned a sports car, had a family, a home. My mom died an old lady who never did anything with the top down. One day with the top down is better than a lifetime in a box.
How about that? That's some knowledge right there. So this is the second allusion that Ivy makes to her own death.
Yeah.
Because she talks to Sylvie earlier about wanting to fall to her death, or that if she were to commit suicide, she would jump. You know, which is weird. Who would like? I don't think I would choose jumping to my death. You're like screaming and scared the entire way down.
But Ivy is that big of a free spirit that she wants to pretend like she's flying.
Like she's flying, even in the throes of like.
And they also were like jumping out of a second floor window, which is also like, are you really like? I'm not convinced you're gonna like.
I don't know, onto the pavement below, maybe.
I don't know.
Also, Georgie's window does look but it could also just be angles. But that window looks pretty high up in her. This balcony, the balcony ledge comes up to her ankles.
Yeah.
Like, that does not seem safe at all.
That balcony is not safe.
No, it's not up to any modern
Code.
safety codes, by any means. But, Georgie sees Ivy's monologue and I guess sees herself in her, parts of herself that she does not see in her own daughter.
Yeah.
And I guess we're to infer from this meeting that this is where she kind of gives Ivy the run of her closet. Right.
Which, she takes full advantage of.
Yeah. They set up when she picks up the picture of the sports car, the mother is wearing that mustard tube dress with the cutout over her boobs that Ivy is later wearing when they take the car out for the joyride.
Michael, did you note how old Cheryl Ladd said she was?
No.
She says that she's
38.
38.
Yeah, 38.
And it's crazy that I'm at a point in my life that I'm closer to the age of the mom than I am
than the teens.
The teens. That's so depressing.
Yeah.
38.
But Cheryl Ladd looks
her nails.
Cheryl Ladd looks great though.
Yeah, she kept those nails. She kept that like slam and bod.
She's on those Percocet highs.
Pete was wondering if on the set, like Cheryl would regale Drew with stories of filming Charlie's Angels, and that's what inspired Drew to produce Charlie's Angels.
Oh, that is a really great cinema connection. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I just thought about it last night or the other night as we were watching it. I was like, oh, she was an angel. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
She was the replacement angel for Farrah.
Yeah, she was.
Because she then is even younger than, like, I guess the theory is she too was sort of a trophy wife because the husband's a good 10 years older.
Oh, for sure. Tom Skerritt was had to be in his 50s.
Yeah.
At this point. Because even in 92, looking, I think she looked really good for a 40-year-old woman in 1992. Because at that point, 40 still was a little bit more matronly, a little bit more madame, as Nina Rodriguez would say.
So then she wins the mom over pretty quick. Just that one monologue, mom is already in her corner.
Oh yeah,
she's pretty much
Ready
given
to
the
give
good to
Ivy
go
anything.
to just move in. And they
so
say that.
Then, what happens next? Is this when we go to the tattoo parlor yet? No.
Pretty close. I feel like all that really happens is that they're setting up that Tom Skerritt is having a big birthday party, but it's really just kind of like a mixer for all his colleagues so that he can kind of look better at work.
I thought it was so morbid that they had it at the house. It's like, my wife is terminally ill and dying, and it's oh, don't go upstairs.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And people were like, is she going to make an appearance? Is she going to come out
I know,
relax.
She's not doing well.
Yeah, well, I also think the intention was for her to come out and make an appearance and then just go back to the room or something, and she just didn't. But this is kind of really the first indication that, well, maybe not the first indication, but one of the first bad things that Ivy does because...
oh yes, the phone call. She mixes up dates, right?
On purpose. Yeah. So Ivy has this, not Ivy, Darlene has this job volunteering with troubled kids or whatever, and they call her to see if she can work on a specific day, and it's the day of the big party, and Ivy sees the date on the calendar, and she's like, oh yeah, she's free, she can come into work. And then purposely doesn't write down the appointment. So Darlene gets fucked when it's the day of the party. And that's I think it's kind of one of the first big actual bad things that she does. At least to Darlene.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, the worst thing that she does all movie is that she allows her to get that ugly tattoo of a peace sign on her ankle. That is
it's a peace sign, but it's also a yin and a yang. It's terrible.
It's bad.
Yeah. And it's so poorly done that, like, the same day, mere like minutes or hours later, they're sitting outside and she's pouring straight alcohol onto like this open flesh wound.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the song that was playing in that moment. This like fake John Bon Jovi song.
Yeah.
There was some music licensing issues in this movie.
They go to that tattoo parlor. Let's talk about that.
Oh,
they
my
cut
God.
class and they're like, let's go get tattoos. And there's this like lecherous man who clearly knows they're underage and is like ready to like sexually assault them at any moment. And they're just taking it in stride. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he's actively going in for like kisses. He is not wearing protective gloves.
It looks like he tries to motorboat Drew in one point of the scene.
He throws alcohol on a fresh wound.
Yeah. He spits the alcohol onto it. He doesn't even pour it. He actually is wearing latex gloves, but he's wearing it on the hand that he's not tattooing with. So it's like that's doing nothing. He's like referring to the size of his penis.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that whole joke too.
Yeah. And these girls, like, their kind of expressions back and forth to each other, like I said before, they're just like, this guy, right? Am I right with this one? Like, they're not.
Yeah, and this is too like where I was like, a man wrote this, because there was that montage where they're like hanging out and shopping, and you know, Sara Gilbert's like, she bought, I spent. You know, it sounded like someone was getting out some gripes about like the dating scene in LA, and they like transposed their like, thoughts to this high school girl. And that's too where they have that classic scene where they're like, gee, I hope my tits get bigger. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. I mean, that's totally how high school girls talk. I mean,
yeah. Some of their like intimate girl talk moments are a little weird.
It's more like girl talk as written by like 40-year-olds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but also, Sara Gilbert is just wandering around town. Is this her dad's wallet? She pulling out cash?
I know.
I gave you 100, Ivy. Can I have that back? Damn. Even for
She had
rich
an
kids,
Amex, too.
just having $100 bills in their pockets.
Yeah, because Ivy and Sara Gilbert get into kind of an argument when Ivy says, "Okay, you're next," and to get a tattoo, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not the kind of person."
I love that. We're gonna get him because we're gonna be sisters. We'll be bonded for life. But it's that way. It's that way that Drew delivers
delivery.
Sisters,
blood sisters,
blood sisters.
Yeah. So she's like, I'm not the type of person to get a tattoo, and then Ivy just gets totally offended, which I don't know. I guess it's another way to kind of illustrate Ivy's maybe like not so stable, because like just this one little comment sets her off. But it seems like something that wouldn't really set Ivy off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somebody's opinion of her. You know, I feel like she kind of just doesn't really care too much about people's opinions of her. Maybe it's because it's Sylvie saying that.
Right. And the movie doesn't quite... You don't necessarily feel like she's just using her to get to the dad. We actually never... I mean, her end game, I guess, is eventually revealed. Like, she wants to replace the mother, right?
Yes, for sure.
And what I think is kind of interesting of how this material is handled is that Ivy is never quite directed or portrayed as the villain. She's more as somebody tragic. I think that Ivy just, at the end of the day, wants to be loved.
Yes,
And-
she comes across as like
Yeah.
deeply damaged, abused, feral. Like you get the sense that she actually might not have any, or she hasn't had any parental figures in her life.
And she's kind of set to be Coop's maternal figure, I guess, at the end. Like, she just wants to become her mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ivy's clothes, when she's not wearing Georgie's wardrobe, she just wears the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And even when she does commit her evil act that we'll get to, they go out of their way to show that she actually was sort of disturbed by it and has remorse over her actions.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, indeed. We should. I mean, I guess we should just get to the big gag of the
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I don't feel like much else happens between here and
No,
there.
there's one scene we need to get.
Well,
to. The
she
seduction
ends up-
Scene
she
is
ends
like
up-
jaw-droppingly shocking.
There's
scene
two
where
seduction
the mom-
scenes with the
That-
one with her at the end of the party that
That
Cheryl Ladd
scene.
walks into.
Yeah,
Oh, and she walks in on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh my god.
And Ivy kind of makes up this bogus story of that, well, I was wearing your dress. I really shouldn't have been wearing the dress. And when he saw me wearing the dress, he just missed you.
Right,
And
but
that's what it was?
essentially, she maneuvered it so that Sara Gilbert is away. She can get to the dad.
Yeah.
He's sober, and she tempts him with alcohol. She's wearing the mother's dress. He gets a little tipsy. Ivy looks like his old wife. I mean, they set that up a bit too. Like, you know, he's probably some horny conservative talk show host toad who hasn't had sex in a long time because his wife is like sick with like Morgellons or whatever she has, and like, you know, he's just like he starts to go for it, and then the mom walks in on them, and it's kind of a shocking moment.
Yeah.
Not as shocking as when they totally dope up the mom.
Oh my god, they just feed her like a fistful of oxy and then give her champagne, and they're like night night, and then they really get down and dirty.
Right next to her with her passed out in the same bed.
And like the director's so into it. She's like loves the perversity of it. Like they cut away to them and they do this like long sweeping shot up on the mom while he's going down on Drew Barrymore, and you're just like
Oh my god! And she's like jerking him off with her foot.
oh yeah, there was like a foot which I didn't talk about this. I was wondering if they were going to use body doubles, but there was a shot where like they kind of foreshadow the foot job, because there's an earlier scene where she like puts her foot up in front of Tom Skerritt's like base.
Oh yeah,
and it's her foot, and her
That's
foot's
the
weird.
not cute.
That's the
Foot's
callback
kind
to
of
that's the
busted.
callback to Lolita's scene. It's pretty
Yeah.
much the scene from Lolita where he goes out and talks to her when she's sunning herself and she has the glasses on.
They needed to do a foot model, like a close up. They should have cut
Yeah.
because Drew had like a hoof. It was like a it was not. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
That's not sexy.
He drops her disgusting hole up cowboy boots into the koi pond.
Oh, I know. She wasn't wearing socks. You know that those things smelled like
Yeah, it's
nasty.
And she goes,
sweaty leather.
and she goes, those cost $150. And to which he pulls a wad of cash out of his pocket, and he's just like, that should cover it.
I love that.
The fuck?
I mean, it's like, yeah, or you could just dry out your boots. But she wants that cash, though.
Yeah.
She needs to buy more clove cigarettes. Or those gross beady cigarettes that were like made with like wrapped in like leaves. Ugh.
So then after she finally does sleep with the dad, and he like becomes full blown alcoholic again. He's like drinking in the morning and hiding it, and the mom is more suicidal than ever.
Yes.
Obviously. And she keeps flirting with the balcony, and like she'll go out there and sort of like pretend to jump.
She likes the romantic idea of throwing herself off the balcony, but she stops herself doing it.
Yes.
She does. She's just on like a Percocet high. She's just sort of like, woo. And then she like, I don't think she wanted to kill herself.
No, yeah. I think, yeah. Those pillars, she definitely knows her way around those pillars out there in the
It's like
balcony.
Ambien. You know how like people will make cigarette sandwiches and eat them on Ambien? It could be like, she could just be on Ambien.
Yep. Oh, man. I do love, okay, so when Tom Skerritt fully embraces his alcoholism again, his drink of choice is vodka. And
Absolute.
It's absolute.
Absolute.
Absolute. And later on, or several times, he's drinking screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He loves a screwdriver. I was like, is that orange juice?
Yeah.
Or?
I mean, I was drinking a screwdriver last night. It's not that unusual.
No, it's not unusual.
It's a little weird. I only think of it as like an airplane drink.
Yeah.
Like when you're flying, I guess.
I mean, that's like an alcoholic's because you can disguise it as orange juice.
Yeah, that's true.
I also think of screwdrivers when I think of like you just turned 21 and could buy liquor, and you're like, I don't know what I like.
Yeah.
You know,
one screwdriver and a sex on the beach, please.
Yeah, like vodkas will
At
get
like
you drunk.
8 p.m.
Yeah,
at a bar.
yeah, exactly. So it's like you don't know what you like, you don't know what mixers are good, and so you're just like, well, I know orange juice. I'll drink a screwdriver with Sunny Delight.
Do you know what I
That
used
would
to
be good.
order a lot in my early 20s just because I thought it was cool? Was just dry martinis.
Oh no!
And that's like sipping lighter fluid right there.
Yeah.
And I just did it because I just thought it was a cool drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one
I
of those.
remember being clueless about how you mix alcohol. Like, I'd be like, gin and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, light it on fire. Yeah.
So then, what happens next? There is that whole sequence with the mom, as someone can do it justice. From that point on, it really starts to get crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Like-
pretty much kicked into high gear after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ivy and Sara Gilbert's relationship starts to crumble. I think Coop is definitely catching on that Ivy's intentions are not in the right place.
The dog scene, the epic dog scene.
Oh my god. So, so here's part of the thing. Ivy's living with them. It's an indeterminate amount of time. Is it days? Is it weeks? Is it months?
Yeah.
Who knows? She's sleeping in Coop's bed with her
Yes.
this whole time.
I mean, they're like teenage girls.
They're teenage girls.
Teenage girls could do that.
Their best.
They had some kisses though too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Coop gets in bed after the party, and like Ivy puts her arm around her, and she like puts her head on her shoulder, and all that. And Coop's just like, "Fuck off! Like, leave me alone. I have a headache." And we find out that they set up early on in the movie this dog, and the dog barks at everybody but Coop. And we find out that Ivy's been giving treats to the dog secretly to get the dog to like her.
Don't worry, he only likes me. It's this weird loyalty thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what she tells her.
Right, and that's sort of like the end of their friendship, which sort of, I feel like maybe the end of their friendship is what prompts Ivy to go upstairs and do what she does, because she's like, oh, maybe if a traumatic event happens, I can rebond or reconnect with her.
Yeah.
And I can just slide in the place
Because-
of where the mom was.
So the mom wakes up and puts on a recording of Darlene,
Yeah.
Sara Gilbert's music.
Yes.
It was something she made for her, right?
Yeah, she recorded this song on the piano for her mom, and it was a birthday present. This recording on tape.
Right. So the mom wakes up. She's like, "I'm feeling good. I just took 2 perk. I'm gonna go hang out on the terrace.
My
and maybe
favorite
sip
spot.
A cocktail." And then she's like, "Ooh, let's play that game I like to play where I hang out on the edge." And suddenly she turns around and Ivy's right there, and it's sort of weird because did Ivy at first sort of stop her and then lets her it seemed like a sort of push and pull.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you don't know which direction Ivy's going to go in at this point. You think, okay, she's going to stop her or whatever.
And she almost does it at a very spur of the moment. This thought just came to her and she just did it, too.
It felt impulsive. It did.
Yeah, it wasn't part of her grand plan. It was just like, okay,
It
here's
wasn't.
a
I don't think
moment.
She walked in there. If I was on the jury and the case was going on and they presented it as not premeditated, I would be like, "You're right. It wasn't premeditated."
Yeah, it's man too.
And then they do this weird stylistic thing when the mom dies, where they do these flash cuts of white. And boom, boom, and that felt very Lifetime movie. That's where I was like, oh, they should have amped it up a little bit. We need this to be a roller coaster ride. We needed someone hanging on by their crazy fingernails that they've been craziness with.
She's holding onto that ledge at those
claws.
with those claws.
We needed Ivy to have like a catchphrase, like a "we don't need you anymore,"
Yeah.
but the movie's a little more like serious than that, I guess.
Yeah.
So she does that, and then Drew Barrymore kind of has a crisis. She has a meltdown as a result.
Yes, indeed.
She takes Sara Gilbert, and they get into her mom's red Corvette, and they go on like an insane car ride, like an epic. Wait, is that what happens next?
Well,
right?
they kind of show a little bit of a funeral, and they're just sitting in the house, and each.
Ivy is fully sleeping in mom's bed too.
And Ivy wore like a hoe dress to the funeral.
Yes,
too.
she did. Yes, indeed. But her hair was in a sensible French braid, so she wasn't like overtly sexy. Because I feel like a French braid is not sexy, but.
And so when they go in the car ride, they actually have her mom's ashes.
Yes.
So like Ivy's like, I am going to take this woman who I murdered's ashes and her daughter, and we're gonna go in a car and like throw them out the window.
Yep. One last goodbye. One last hurrah.
Right.
Go on the car ride with Georgie that we never could go on with her.
And we have also the second big gag that Sylvie learns, and you have the clip for it.
Oh my God, this dialogue.
This scene is amazing. My second favorite part of the movie.
What is that? What? That song. What are you talking about? You were just humming. So? So where'd you hear it? I don't know. I do. I wrote it. Dad recorded it for Mom for her birthday. You heard it in her room. So? She was playing it that morning. Oh my God. You were there. What did she say to you? Ivy! Come on, she was about to kill herself. She must have said something. Why wouldn't you tell me what my mom said? Please stop it! I want to hear you say it. Are you accusing me of something? Why did you do something? Everybody always ends up blaming me. I thought you were different. I thought that we were real friends.
Oh, jeez.
The car accident was like good. It was really impactful. It was intense.
Yeah, the head through the windshield like moment was
With the
was a lot.
with the ash urn like flying.
I know. And also like they go out of their way to show Drew's like heaving bosom really
her heathen bosom like going right on the steering wheel.
Oh man, yeah.
It's an old steering wheel. It's like an old Ferrari or Corvette,
it's like a
whatever
Corvette.
it is.
Yeah. And well, I mean, this steering wheel to the titty, I mean that comes in later on in the movie.
It does. So I'm glad they really like highlighted it.
Yeah, that was like
But
definitely.
this was my problem. I had a few. This was one of the second time they did this. Like she moves Sara Gilbert into the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And it's ostensibly like, oh well, now it looks like she did it. When like clearly there's like a pass. Like her head went through the windshield.
Yeah.
Like someone was in the driver's seat. And not only that, but you'd be like, yeah, we saw two teenage girls tearing through the mountain, like raising hell in a fucking fire engine red Corvette, like terrorizing everyone on the road for 10 miles. And then, not only that, but even when the mom, they pass it off as she committed suicide, that woman fell backwards. Like, they would be looking at, like, well, I guess she, like, decided to kill herself by, like, swan diving backwards. And, like, it's just, there were a lot of, like, plot holes.
Sure. I think they try to explain away, the mom by saying that she had threatened it in the past and, things like that. But
and this is too where the dad becomes the real villain, because he gets word that his daughter is in a really bad car accident, and he shows up at the hospital and he's kind of like a rude jerk.
He doesn't believe her.
He did it, and not only that, but it's like your wife just committed suicide. Your daughter is in a near fatal car accident.
Yeah.
You immediately go home to have sex with your underage daughter's best friend.
True.
Like he is more. He is grosser than Ivy.
Yeah, I mean, the nurse is like, they're gonna kick
That
you out.
hospital too, by the way, was budget. They really like ran out of money towards the end.
Yeah. The nurse is like, they're going to kick you out in 10 minutes. Okay, but my daughter's just had a head injury. She's hallucinating. I think I'm just going to go home now. Yeah, like, what the fuck?
And then she goes, like, full-on jailbreak. She's, like, barefoot in a, like, hospital gown. Like,
what the hell kind of hospital? What kind of security do they have? She just leaves her room and walks out in like a hospital gown with like a bloody head wound.
And it was clearly like a community college. It was not a hospital. Like wherever they were filming.
I love the guy that picks her up and the bus.
Oh yeah, that was kind of like some like local flavor. There's like a like benevolent punk rocker who owns a school bus. And he just decides to pick. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's clearly like just broken from the hospital." She's,
he was
like,
into
running
it,
barefoot with the head injury.
He was like, "Good luck, girl. Good luck, man." She gets out.
He thought she was like cosplaying though. He was
maybe.
Yeah, he thought she was like on her way to like some like shithead like punk show, and she was just like cosplaying. But Sara Gilbert is fully having hallucinations of her dead mother at this point.
Yes. She has a serious head wound. She's probably on some meds.
Yes. She sees her mother in her hospital bed with this this necklace that I don't know that they set up this necklace being important early in the movie.
They did.
Did they?
Yeah,
okay.
Because Drew talks about it.
Okay.
She points it out when they first met.
So she kind of like is having a memory of her mother handing it to her. But then later on, when she gets back to the house, this is like the big gaggy like lesbo moment, which I think even Cheryl Ladd had issues with, because she's having these hallucinations of her mother in her mother's bedroom, and they kind of like go in for a kiss.
Wait, I thought that's when she sees her dad.
Well, they see... Yeah, you're right. She sees the dad first. She sees the dad and Ivy full-on boning on the piano first.
And it looks like her mother, and they didn't use a stunt double for him either.
No, that is his face and his ass.
They sort of cut around Drew in that scene.
Yeah, and she's in a full dress. They're not really doing.
Yeah, she's totally covered.
She's just grinding up against him.
Yeah. But yeah, at this point, she sees that. She gets freaked out. She, like, runs. She leaves. Tom Skerritt, like, chases her down the steps. It's pouring down rain. It's this torrent,
He, like, hurts his back.
He slips on the stairs. And Drew goes out, and she's like, I can catch her. And he's like, tries, stopping her. And, like, manhandles Ivy at that point.
Again, I was on Ivy's side. I was like, this adult man who is just having sex with this young underage girl is like physically like threatening her too.
Yes.
He's like, you leave her alone.
Yeah.
It felt like, hey, I'll punch you out if you don't like listen to me.
Oh, for sure. He was like pulling her down by her arm, and she was like, ah.
Yeah.
That classic movie line, you're hurting me. Sylvie is like running around the mansion, like just losing her mind, and makes it back up to the mom's bedroom. And this is where she has a hallucination again of the mom, and they kiss. And it turns into, actually, it's just Ivy the whole time that she's making out with. And the only reason that she knows is because Ivy slips her the tongue.
Oh.
Ivy straight up goes in for the French, and that's what, like, snaps her out of it.
And then they somehow... Do they start fighting?
Yeah,
How they end up on the balcony again?
She somehow corners her out on the ledge.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like an interesting... Like, Ivy wanted to be the mother, and she really did become her, because she even suffers the same fate.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was reading that I guess the original ending that they shot, Ivy gets away with everything and she ends up running away and hitchhiking on the road. And that was the original ending that they shot.
That's a very Showgirls ending.
So they pretty much ended like Nomi Malone leaving Vegas. It was going to be Drew hitchhiking her way out of L.A.
Wow.
But I guess that New Line just felt that this character had to pay for what she did.
Yeah.
So they rewrote a new ending in which she died.
Which the ending felt kind of phoned in. Like it really wraps up. Like the second she's like over that balcony, 10 seconds later the movie's over.
Oh yeah,
it
for
ends
sure.
on like voiceover that sometimes I think about her.
I still miss her. I kind of like the idea.
That's so lesbian.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of Ivy living, going off and hitchhiking, and then Showgirls is just an immediate sequel to this movie.
She decides to go out to Vegas.
Nomi's prequel was Poison Ivy. I would believe it.
It makes total sense.
The lesbians. They should stand this the way that like we stand Mommy Dearest. You know, like
well,
sure.
Yeah, and that's
should be in the lesbian canon.
And that's the thing is that this movie surprisingly isn't as widely known or watched as we like to think it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
Most people that I talk to have no idea about this movie.
Yeah, not familiar. But but yeah, you're right. Like a Mommy Dearest, it is like a camp classic.
Well, too, because parts of it are so potent and like good, and then parts of it are so ridiculous and over the top.
It has a pretty good poker face of when to be serious.
Yeah,
That's one of the things that I think this director really knows what she's doing with this material too.
The direction is modern too, like it's sort of on Ivy's side, so it doesn't play as gross. It's not like on Tom Skerritt's side, which is how most movies approach the subject matter. They come from the like poor husband or poor man's.
Do you almost feel like the last time that this type of kind of story in a movie was acceptable was probably American Beauty?
Yeah.
It's similar. It's similar in its idea.
And I like that Poison Ivy seems to be more preoccupied with female friendship.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting about it.
Yeah. I also got a little Basic Instinct with those two characters. I feel like Ivy is a little precursor to like a Catherine Trammell.
I think this movie was released very, very close to Basic Instinct too.
Yeah.
I think that Basic Instinct was released in March and this followed in May.
Yeah. And even like Jean Triplehorn is the brunette.
Oh yeah.
And you always do that blonde brunette. And like, the way that they're sort of like female friendship, jealousy, competitive, like, you know, all those things, obsessed with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Ivy wants Sara Gilbert's life, essentially. And Sara Gilbert wants to be Ivy. So they both have something that the other one wants.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, what about a gay version? I really want a gay remake with men.
There should be a gay remake of this. That would be interesting.
Okay, would you do it? There's like a couple ways. Would you do it like... There's like a gay dad, and he like adopted a kid like 15 years ago, and suddenly his like daughter that he adopted brings home this like bad news twink who's like kind of pretending to be like straight and like seducing the dad.
Oh man!
Or would you do it like Fox News host, like closeted, like Shep Smith?
Yeah,
what's
that's
guy's
how
name?
Shepard Smith.
Yeah.
That's how I think I would do it. I think that it's I mean, he can be a single dad. He can be married. It doesn't really matter. And he has a gay son, and the son sort of like is just getting to be out and proud. He makes friends with like a super fully
realized gay kid,
gay rebellious teen, and the teen sort of like sneaks his way in this household, and he ends up seducing the dad.
But they're like a gold digger, right?
Yeah,
they want the money. They want the lifestyle. I would
watch that movie.
So, why can't we make that?
Oh man,
it's just like gay men can also be the villains. They can be.
Well, not only that, I feel like straight people would watch a thriller like that. You know, like straight people don't like to watch serious gay dramas or comedies, but they actually might be fascinated by like watching, you know, any erotic thriller from the 90s remade with gay people.
Yeah. I mean, I think the three of us have enough connections in this town to get this done.
We can like get it made on Quibi.
Yeah, 7 minutes at a time.
7 minute, yeah. Oh my god.
I mean,
They should remake Poison Ivy for Quibi.
Oh my god, I love it.
I mean, people's attention spans are pretty short.
It's true.
They do need to remake this, though.
Do you know what I was also thinking? That's almost like a kind of an unintentional remake of this movie is 13 with Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh yeah,
It borrows a lot of elements from Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy's a spiritual godmother.
Yeah, for sure. We should talk a little bit about the sequel and our thoughts.
We maybe made it into 20 minutes of Poison Ivy 2 Lily, and we had to turn it off.
So
it's really bad, right?
So the premise of Poison Ivy 2 Lily, well, like I guess the elevator pitch of it, I guess, is that because it's not really connected, it's not the same characters or actors or any of that, but she finds Ivy's diary and is like inspired to become,
Because I guess that Ivy was living in this boarding house from this in a room for rent in this house that she ends up moving into. Right?
Okay, so listen to this. A sheltered art student, Alyssa Milano, finds Ivy's diaries and after reading them is lured into uninhibited risk-taking to become a wild woman.
Oh my god, Ivy's diary is like the Necromancer. It's like this magical book that once you read it, turns you like evil.
It's made of human foreskin.
Okay, so my friend, when I was in I don't know, what year was it? It was 96 or
96,
7?
Yep.
So yeah, we had rented movies and my friend's parents had rented movies. And it was really weird because I saw, I was like, what is Poison Ivy 2?
Oh my
and,
God.
I had rented, She's All That. And, the parents had rented it to watch in their, bedroom with their own TV and VCR. And it was very gross where it was like, ew, they're having a, weird, couples night. They rent softcores and, have a fun Saturday night. And it was sort of,
make out.
Because it was that one.
Make out as we watch Poison Ivy 2.
There's this other one where she's like a vampire. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Is that one called Vampire's Kiss?
Something.
Yeah, I know exactly which one that is.
I'm guessing my friend's dad liked Alyssa Milano.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He was definitely living his who's the boss fantasy. That's kind of oh my gosh. So then we also have Poison Ivy, The New Seduction. And this one is now starring Jamie Presley.
Introducing Jamie Presley.
Presley. Yes. And we've got, Ivy's sister Violet. So they all have flower names because Alyssa was Lily. So now we've got Ivy's sister Violet visits the Greer residence. And it doesn't take long for her to use her skills of manipulation to throw the household into a state of panic and deceit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds very similar to the first.
Yes, I think that one is a little bit more. So my thoughts on the second one, having seen the trailer, it seemed like it may have just been a script for an erotic thriller with this college age, female protagonist or / antagonist. And I don't know if people were just maybe let's change some things around and slap a Poison Ivy 2 name onto it.
They shoehorned it in for sure.
Because it has 0.00 to do with Poison Ivy.
Do you know what they ended up doing that with Kat Shea? Because she directed Carrie to the Rage.
Oh my god!
And that was the deal with Carrie to the Rage. Is that was just a script floating around that they just rebranded as Carrie.
That's the same as Die Hard 3 was just a random action movie called Simon Says. And then they were like, oh, let's make it a Die Hard. And they incorporated the Die Hard into it.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Alyssa Milano was in Embrace of the Vampire in 1995.
Oh, that was what they rented.
I want to say when I worked at a video store, that was one of the red flagged VHSs that you really had to be over the age of 18 to rent.
Yeah.
I'm sure now it's probably quite tame. Do you even
yeah.
think? I'm sure they just show like full nudity.
Well,
and not even in like much of a sexual context.
The cast also features Jennifer Tilly, Rachel True, and Jordan Ladd.
Oh wow!
Well, Jennifer Tilly might get me to watch it.
Yeah, that's oh my goodness.
She would have been good in a Poison Ivy. That would have been like the dark, like the I don't know. Like
she would be
Dark
like
Blood.
Jennifer Tilly would be like Drew's
The
out
aunt,
of town aunt.
yeah, the aunt that's supposed
Iris.
to be
Her Aunt Iris.
Oh my God, Lily, Violet, and Iris. The Poison Ivy 2 family, or Poison Ivy family, everybody. Wow. Does anybody have any final thoughts? Anything we left out? Anything we?
I just want to note that for the opening credits of this movie of Ivy on the tire swing, I'm a good sucker for with in credits. It was with Cheryl Ladd and Drew Barrymore as Ivy. I always love that. You can always get like good star power with a with and an and.
And
what
I
kind
like
of
a
actors
with.
have withs and ands in credits?
Yeah. Drew couldn't get an introducing. That hoe's been around for way too long.
I want Drew and Sara to re-embrace it and like do a like 20th, like I'm 25 year anniversary like
Yeah. I mean,
commentary.
Sara Gilbert for sure, especially now being like this, this out lesbian, power Hollywood person. She should definitely
I hope that her and Drew still text back and forth.
That'd be
maybe.
nice. They probably don't.
Probably not.
No.
We can only hope. I have to say, I am watching Sara Gilbert on The Connors, and she's charming.
She's good. And she's also on that daytime talk show.
Yeah.
Is it the
The
real?
Real?
The Talk.
The Talk.
The Real is the urban.
Talk.
The Real is the more urban one. The Talk is the one on CBS, and that's the one with Sharon Osbourne.
And Julie Chen Moonbear.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
I wonder how she got that job.
I don't know.
She knows somebody at CBS. Oh boy! All right, Michael. Any thoughts on this? Final thoughts on this movie before we wrap it up?
No, I'm so glad that you recommended it and like asked me to come along because it's right up my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
like, and I would have picked something like this if it was like given to me.
Yeah,
definitely a lot funner than the last movie that we did with you.
We did. What was the last?
Object of my affection.
I mean, woo, that one was dry as a turkey.
And we have to.
We didn't have a lot to work with on that.
Also, a big shout out to our friend Chris Sergliano, guest on Masters of the Universe, because I couldn't find this movie anywhere to watch, and I'm just like, what straight friend do I know that could probably find this? Just online somewhere.
He's good at pirating things.
And I text Chris,
especially movies about underage girls seducing older men.
I text Chris, and not within like 5 minutes, I got a link, and I immediately sent it to you.
I did, and I watched it, and that does speak to this era, like where you think there's like 12 streaming channels, and you're like, I can watch anything in the world, and there are so many movies that you can't watch.
This is when
Poison
video
Ivy
stores
New
come
Line
in handy.
Cinema. Like it's not some like underground Euro art house bootleg Greek like. Like why this should be available?
Do you think it's because of those bullshit songs that are in this movie that are just impossible to license?
But they're not.
Yes, and they're the bottom line. These companies are so number crunchers. They don't care. They're like, if it's not worth it, who cares?
Yeah,
let it fall into obscurity.
There is a Shout Factory Blu-ray set of all of them, though. So it is available, but you kind of have to buy the whole thing.
You have to shell out for it, and it's like $30. Which I mean, this movie it's worth it. This movie's priceless.
I would like to get I would like to get the nice transfer of this movie.
Yeah, that would definitely be worth it.
But definitely a movie that I would recommend, and gay men love shit like this. They love Drew Barrymore and this character type. Like, we love all of that.
It's sort of like the best Lifetime movie ever made.
Oh, for sure.
It's
Yeah.
elevated Lifetime.
It's Lifetime with asses.
Well, yeah,
And
but
ass.
that's
And fucking
not
on-
much of a selling point.
and fucking on hoods of cars.
Fucking car hoods. Yeah. Oh man, this was really fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming
All
on,
right.
man.
of course, always happy to join.
Yeah, this was really awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Have you discovered anything in this quarantine time? Anything that you're
Oh,
watching?
God.
Anything that you've like discovered?
I've been watching old seasons of Survivor
Oh wow.
because there are so many and it's endless and it's just like kind of comforting and
We're getting into the last season of Project Runway.
Yes, indeed.
okay, yes. I watched Making the Cut.
I heard Making
I
the
want to
Cut's
see
good.
that. Yeah.
It's good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yes, I watched the last season. I've watched almost every season of Project Runway. I might be like one of those weird like super fans who's seen like more or less every season.
Yeah.
And it's like The Price is Right now. It's been on for like 30 years.
Yeah. It's just like winners blur together post like after the 10th season. They're hard to remember.
The minute
Yeah.
someone gets sent home from Project Runway, they're erased from my memory.
And I feel like RuPaul's Drag Race is kind of becoming like that now. That like
Which-
the seasons
which
are
one?
RuPaul's Drag Race. That like
Oh,
when
yeah,
they get into their teen
absolutely.
seasons, they all start kind of blurring together. Everybody just
Yeah.
sort of resembles Violet Chachki at this point.
yeah.
Yes. Which, although, imagine if a queen did a Poison Ivy look,
Oh my god, I would love it.
like the
Oh,
red,
what?
the red look.
You
Yeah.
want to
The
do
colors-
the red skirt and the red trench and the blonde hair.
Although doing like the Drew's Melrose look, going to get a tattoo is also pretty like major.
Yeah, I think people would just think it's Kelly Bundy. though.
Night of a
Night of a Thousand Ivies.
Night of a
They
Thousand
should do
Ivies.
Night of 1,000 Drews.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
enough Drew looks.
I mean, Drew Barrymore's not doing anything. They could get Drew Barrymore to come in for an afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's local. She's here in LA, I think.
Oh yeah, and she's cheap.
Oh boy. Well, I think it's time to wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was super fun.
All right, guys. Stay safe. Be
you as well.
Keep watching.
Always an amazing guest.
Thanks.
Bye, man.
Bye, guys.
All right. And all you listeners,
All you cool cats and kittens.
cool cats and kittens.
It's already played out at this point.
Yeah, seriously. But thanks so much for listening to
Yeah.
another wonderful episode.
We're going to be approaching episode 50 soon. Can you believe that?
I mean,
We've been doing
yeah.
this fucking show for a year
A
almost.
year. That's crazy. Once a week, all for you,
Mm-hmm.
all for free.
It's been a fun time.
It has been so much fun. Thank you for listening, everybody. We would love it if you would rate and review our show. Go to iTunes, subscribe, hit 5 stars.
5 stars.
Give us 5
You
stars.
have nothing else better to do.
I know. During this quarantine time, catch up on your podcast ratings. Write us a little review. Give us some stars and listen to our episodes. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay, and you can find us on Twitter at MTMUG Pod.
See, I've got it.
You got it. Sweet. We've got another fresh episode coming your way next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.